Hi everyone, welcome to my introductory video presentation for our counseling class. Today I'm going to be reflecting on an interview I recently conducted with someone close to me that I trained with at the gym who's gone through several substance abuse issues in the past. This assignment was a major reality check for me because even in my studentship or my academic career, I feel like everything I is under control because I keep up with my regular routine. I eat clean, usually steak, chicken, cheese, vegetables. I manage my graduate class schedule pretty easily. But hearing this personal story of addiction please put all of our theories in perspective. Today, I'm going to cover his drug of choice, his interactions, how spirituality played into it, his 12-step strategies through the Phoenix program, and how this whole experience impacts his approach as a counselor. He asked me not to use his name, so we're going to call him Mark. Mark's a 38-year-old male who is a family friend and works out with me at my parkour gym through the Phoenix program. He's been in recovery for about 4 years now, and before we started, I made sure he felt completely comfortable answering all these questions. I let him know this was for an assignment in class, and made sure he was okay with that. Doing this interview was super insightful because it allowed me to see how addiction actually plays out in real life rather than just reading about it in textbook. Mark was super open about his past struggles, which helped me practice my active skills, and I maintained a safe and gentle listening persona throughout the whole conversation. Now, when I asked Mark about his primary drug of choice, his DOC, he explained that he actually engaged in polysubstance abuse. And was his main drug was alcohol and prescription opioids, specifically oxycodone. When I asked him what made those his preferred choice, he said alcohol gave him instant social confidence, but lowered his anxiety when he was around people. But the prescription pill offered a total physical and emotional numbing effect that made his daily stress completely disappear. When I asked about the interaction effect of mixing both at the same time, he described it as super dangerous downward spiral. He noticed severe physical sedation, consistent blackouts, and drastic dropping in his breathing rate. Emotionally, taking both made him completely detached from his family and friends, which ruined most of his relationships. According to the Crooks Institute, mixing depressants like alcohol and opioids multiplies the lethal dose and speeds up psychological dependence. Hearing him describe those blackouts was scary, and it was a reminder how chemical substances take over someone's life. I also came up with 4 additional questions that I was super curious to ask Mark. First, I asked him what his exact turning point was. He told me he hit rock bottom after a massive blackout where he completely missed a major family milestone, which made him realize he was losing everything he loved. Second, I asked how his social circle reacted. He said active addiction made him isolate himself. Being sober meant he had to set hard boundaries and cut off his old friends who were still eating. Third, I asked what daily coping strategy he used. Today, when his triggers popped up, he said he relies heavily on his daily check-ins with the report team at the Phoenix Group, avoiding high-risk environments and using basic grounding techniques. Finally, I asked him about the difference between abstinence and actually recovering. The answer was interesting. He said that abstinence is just stopping the drug, but recovery is completely changing how you think, act, and treat people. This aligns with choice theory, because real recovery requires making new choices that are actually there to meet your basic needs without sliding into an artificial escape. A huge part of Mike's say is how spiritual belief assisted in the recovery journey. Mike explained that before getting sober, he tried to control everything through sheer willpower, which had always failed. Surrendering his life to a higher power, which connects step directly into step 3 and step 11 in the 12-step program, was the exact moment his life started turning around. He uses daily prayer and quiet reflection to guard his heart and keep his mind focused on what really matters. Mark also relies heavily on practical strategies from Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. He attends weekly meetings with those groups as part of the Phoenix organization. and talks to a sponsor whenever he feels overwhelmed. He uses double A slogans like one day at a time and HOLTS, which stands for hungry, angry, willing, tired. It's a simple cognitive briefing to check his wellness. Research by Kelly shows that a peer-led 12-step group like AA or AA provides a long-term recovery support for building strong social accountability and spiritual growth. Seeing how spirituality transforms Mark's life reinforces my view that faith can be massive clientele resource in becoming counseling. Now, interviewing Mark had a massive impact on how I plan to approach addiction counseling in the future. Practice. First, it helped me bridge the gap between the head and the heart, like Hutchinson talked about. Having textbook knowledge about addiction is very necessary. But listening to Mark helped me connect with the raw emotional pain that drives substance use. It proves to me that clients don't just enough clinical theories. They need a counselor who can listen with a genuine empathy and unconditional positive. Second, it totally reinforced my use of force theory in reality therapy. Mark's story showed that addiction is often intense, low-resistance attempt to meet needs for freedom or power in life is out of control. As a counselor, my goal is to help clients elevate their current choices and build practical step plans to meet those internal needs in healthy ways. Lastly, it taught me that I have to keep my own wealth replenished. If I am stressed, exhausted, or coping with my own graduate school stress with passive escape video games, I won't have the energetic presence needed to support a hurting client. Now, reflecting on this whole interview, it really lowered my imposter syndrome and gave me a huge confidence. It made me realize that being a good counselor isn't about having all the answers right away. It's about creating a safe space where people can share their stories without fear or judgment. Seeing how Mark rebuilt his life after hitting rock bottom filled me with a lot of hope for the future clients I serve. It also gave me a reality check about my own life, whether it's managing a workout routine, prepping for an upcoming marriage, or staying on top of my classes. Maintaining holistic wellness across the body, mind, and spirit is essential. Moving forward into my counseling practicum, I'm committed to practicing cultural humility, staying teachable, and helping people find true healing and recovery, not abstinence. This interview was honestly an amazing learning experience that I definitely carry with me throughout my whole career. Here are the references I use for my application, including a textbook by Books on McHenry, speakers from the Bible, and scholarly articles by Kelly and colleagues on the effectiveness of the 12-step recovery. Thank you so much for listening to my question today, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.